Hello and welcome to Open Mind UFO Radio. I'm your host, Alejandro Rojas, and I have here with me my good buddy, Martin Willis. Hello.
Yes. How are you?
And I'm going to do this because if people don't see the UFO, I got to make sure it gets in the shot.
Yeah, there it is.
People
Right.
love to see it.
Yeah.
So, let's see. We've got a lot of people here joining us. Thank you all so much. We've got Dirk. We got Shawnee. We have Dirk, who's sure that the show's going to run smoothly. And as far as I can tell, so far, so good. Thank you, Dirk. Luis, mentioning he liked my interview with Abby Loebs. So I guess we'll start there. But thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Martin, for joining. Today may be a short show because I don't have a whole lot to talk about. But I guess we can start it off. Now that you and I have both interviewed Abby Loeb, we can, I guess, compare notes. Unfortunately, I have not been able to watch your interview yet. I'm
Same here, buddy.
You've been super busy. We've both been busy. I've got a new job, and then you've got this big job you're doing too.
Yeah.
Let me full screen you there. Look at that.
Yeah, this is just I have this little apartment on site in this beautiful old mansion, 1840s mansion down near Boston. And I just dragged some things into this apartment. It's all throughout the house just so I can start cataloging.
Wow.
So, and there's a Sigmund Freud signature up in the back right there. You can see that.
Yeah. Really
this picture.
Cool.
And I don't know what that signifies, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm having fun. I love doing this stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
That is cool. I know. It's really neat. I mean, historic stuff. Really cool. So we'll talk about our Abby Loeb. I do want to mention one thing because Luis from Unidentified Celebrity Review just mentioned, and you and I had, I just noticed this a bit ago, that Mick West interviewed Luis Elizondo, which is really interesting. So actually, we could talk about that a bit. I didn't see the interview. Did you?
I haven't had time. Okay. I do want to, I mean, that really interests me when someone like him is interviewing someone like him. So I have to see it. Yeah.
So Luis Elizondo, of course, ran the ATIP program, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which was the UFO portion of OSAP, the Advanced Aerospace Weapon System Analysis Project, which was a larger program that kind of morphed into what Lou did, which was just UFOs. So the prior thing did more paranormal type of stuff. And what's interesting is Mick West has been a critic of the group for a long time, including contesting that some of the FLIR videos are planes or birds or things that are mundane.
Right.
But of course, Mick West, his background, from what I understand, he does do some journalism, and also he's a skeptic, a debunker, kind of essentially, a skeptic. And then he also was a game developer. I think that's really where he made his claim to fame. So I have not seen the interview yet. I don't know. It's interesting, but I doubt I'll watch it. I mean, I've got to prioritize. And what's frustrating about it is I personally have not interviewed Mick, nor would I, because he's not an expert on FLIR. The experts have a different opinion than him. When I've seen him debate some of the experts, including like the expert David Fauch, which someone I've interviewed for other FLIR issues, he doesn't really address kind of the points that they bring up. And, I work with the SCU, of course, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, and we had a panel recently, last week, where we discussed this topic, the Nimitz event and those videos quite a bit. And I think that they outline, someone came in to argue there's enough information in the FLIR data to be able to make some determinations about speed and such. But everyone who really knows FLIR completely disagrees with that. All the experts I've talked to totally disagree with that. Now, what the SCU did is they based a lot of their data off of radar information, but mostly anecdotal information from radar people and a little bit of some of the FLIR info. And people have criticized, well, that's anecdotal. True. But the way Kevin Knuth puts it, who's an associate professor of physics, he puts it like this, that, we did use pilot testimony, and pilots certainly are good witnesses as far as size of aircraft and speed of things that they're chasing, and that the things that they used were broad enough for calculations that even if there's a large variance, the which they account for in their report, that the biggest variance, mistake that the pilot could have made, for instance, David Fravor, for instance, is a big witness, since he was the pilot that got closest to the object and chased it in this Nimitz event in 2004. That still, even with if he was pretty far off, that still extraordinary speeds and such that it exhibited. And I think one thing that we have to remember, which is kind of difficult for all of us out here, is that the Navy feels differently. The DoD, even the DoD that's been difficult and has been not friendly with To the Stars or Lou or the rest of the group, they admit that these videos represent unidentified objects that they have ruled out, conventional, even foreign technologies. So it's the hard part is we don't know how they made that determination, and we may never know. And that's what's really hard, because then some people can come out and dispute the findings, but can't do an analysis of where the Navy may have gotten off.
Now, didn't I hear Lou say one time that there's going to be other videos released other than these 3?
No. And I think that Lou is very careful the way he words it. And I think at least I have never heard him say that. What I have heard him say many times is that there are other videos.
Yes.
And
I've heard him say that too.
Yeah. And if you actually hear how he frames this, he's evolved the way he said it. At first, he used to say, I think they'll come out. Just give it time. Any moment now, you're going to see more videos. But as time has rolled on, and those insiders that he talked to while he was on the inside, who were enthusiastic about him coming out and everything, are much less enthusiastic about sharing information. And so now he kind of frames it, I don't know if any other videos will come out. I think they will, but we're pushing for it. I've never heard him say for sure other videos will come out, but he says other videos and better videos exist.
That's right.
And that he's hopeful they'll come out. So
yeah, I heard him say that as well. Well, I interviewed Mick a couple of times, but about specific things that he actually did really good work on. But when I saw what he was putting out there about these videos, it was ridiculous how he was trying to make them into something that they obviously weren't. But he occasionally does do some really smart work. He does a lot of thorough research.
Yeah, I mean, he did, Luis from Unidentified Celebrity Review made another point that Mick did try to compare the Chilean scientists and military pilots being just as qualified as American scientists and pilots. I don't think that would rings true for anybody. That's kind of like saying, the medical, expert in a rural town and Oklahoma is going to be the same as some of the top scientists in New York or something. I mean, that's just not going to be the case. Education is different. And plus, of course, the best people are in different areas. I would say pilot would be similar, but I'm sure I know what he's getting at, because Mick West debunked a video, a FLIR video that the Chilean military had put out. And you know what? I agree that
several years ago.
Yeah. And I think he did a great job, and I agree with his analysis.
Yeah.
but there's a much different circumstances between that and the Nimitz. So, for instance, with the Nimitz, we have not much beyond what was released, whereas, well, with the Chilean, you were able to tell from the direction what they were looking at, and he was able to show that there was an aircraft in that area. And
Yes.
so that was a smoking gun.
Right.
In this situation, we don't have that. So I would say that's the big difference, one of the big differences. But Chile, unfortunately, I think they've made a lot of bad calls. They've called a lot of unidentified things, or things that are
At least a
mundane,
few,
unidentified.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Like bugs. They've got these
Right.
videos that I think are bugs. They've got
Yeah.
that one. So there's been at least a couple. But Chile, what's remarkable about Chile is that they've been very pro UFO and investigating it. And one of the things I really love about what I think is interesting, I should say. But this is another example of where I don't think that they've done their due diligence. In other words, they had a government meeting to determine, and when all of these heads of government, people in military, all sat down and to discuss whether or not UFOs were benevolent and or a danger. And what was interesting is that, they framed it this way, that when they all came to sit at the table, it was already a foregone conclusion that this is a real phenomena. There wasn't a question of whether or not it was a phenomena. The question is how worried they should be. And they determined we shouldn't be too worried, that they don't seem to pose a threat or want to hurt anybody, that the biggest danger is just being distracted by them. So I thought that was really interesting. As I think, though, they may be a little premature in that. I would like to think that they're right, and I think that they have a lot of information to substantiate that. I mean, and that they've had UFO encounters, and there's other South American countries they work with that have had UFO encounters, and they haven't seemed to, been wanting to hurt them or anybody. But who knows? Some people argue, well, what if they're observing us? What if they're, recon type of thing where you've got to test your enemy's defenses before you attack type of thing? Who knows? But even if there is a third party at all involved, who knows? Anyways, yes,
well, one
sir.
of the mistakes we can make is when we're trying to figure this whole thing out, benevolency or whatever, we always seem to do it in like a human context. We have no idea how something else, if something else is coming here from somewhere else, how they would think, how they would evolve, if they're violent, if they're not violent. We have no idea.
Yeah. Strange Recon makes a comment that Mick West kind of takes the attitude, if I can replicate what you see in the video, how do you get off saying it's a true unknown? And I mean, I think, that's just not that great of an argument, in that, we can replicate Star Trek. We can replicate spaceships flying around in the sky. And even more mundane. And I've always said this, and this is a hard part when it comes to UFO sightings, often photos and videos, or if not always, they don't add a whole lot to the case, just because for that reason, they can be duplicated. So for instance, most of the UFO videos or pictures out there are points of light in the night sky. And that can be anything. So what do you have to rely on? You have to rely on the supporting information and witness testimony and what other supporting data you have, such as, radar data that supports the witness testimony and the level of credibility of that testimony. So for instance, there's a big difference between a witness and an expert witness. So even in court, if someone is contesting, pleading insanity, you need an expert to say that they're insane. You need doctors. In this case, we have expert witness testimony in that I think you can count a jet fighter pilot as an expert, especially when it comes to identifying aircraft and technologies, aircraft technology. So that counts for a lot more when you have an expert opinion, especially an expert in this case, an expert witness who chased the object with his own cutting edge technology. That
Right.
way he can test that technology we have against the technology that he experienced. So I think that's a little bit different. So I don't know. I just but the other thing with Elizondo doing this interview with Mick West is that Elizondo's doing a lot of interviews. Now that he's not with To the Stars, he gets to determine who to talk to. And I think this is really good evidence that he's a genuine guy and isn't lying. He believes in what he's doing. I mean, he is even doing interviews with Mick West, one of his big detractors.
Yeah.
He did when he started doing this. He did an interview with John Greenwald. He's done interviews with a lot of different people. And it just shows he's really willing to get out there and talk to people, and even talk to people who are critical of him. And I think that says a lot to not be afraid like that.
Yeah. Maybe I should start being critical so I can get an interview him.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're trying. We'll get you an interview because, for goodness sakes, if anybody should get an interview, it should be Podcast UFO, right?
That's right. Yeah.
We'll try to text. There's been at least one or two people I've noticed who have tried to text him and got an interview. Someone else asked me, how do I get an interview? And I said, well, DM him. That seems to work. And he shut down his DM. So, but anyway, let's see. What was I getting to? Oh, Avi Loeb. So now that you and I have interviewed Dr. Avi Loeb, thank you. Luis said he watched it and he liked the interview. But what I really liked about my interview was he told me, was just that he's so enthusiastic and nice. I mean, there was and excited about the topic and the mystery of it all. If you read his book, you read his book, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What I thought was really interesting about the book is how it gets emotional and it gets kind of personal.
Yeah, a lot
and
of
he
personal.
talks about how the search for extraterrestrial life has actually been a major drive for him throughout his life and his career.
And I like the way he looks at it like through a child's eyes. That's very important,
Mhm.
And he also, his book was easy to read. I thought it was really good.
It was very easy to read. I think he really breaks it down as far as the anomalies. And at least as far as I've seen, and I kind of talked to him about this, is that a lot of his critics some of them have gotten very personal, which is kind of surprising to me because these people who are attacking him, claiming he's being unprofessional, that he's hurting science by really pushing something that isn't substantiated, kind of something that we argue with people about.
You mean
But
like the rest of science does with dark energy and all that?
totally, yeah, it's not, and it is a theory of his. And the other part of it was that they're accusing him of being unprofessional. Meanwhile, they start getting personally attacking him, and mean and very unprofessional in their attacks. They're not just attacking the data. In fact, one of the largest, outlets that wrote an article or had an op-ed piece from some guy criticizing that got really personal. He was like, obviously, we all agree that this has got to be a meteorite and that it moved because of outgassing. And just because he says you couldn't see the outgassing doesn't mean it wasn't there. We just couldn't see it. And so obviously this was a meteorite. But the problem with this is with Loeb out there saying all this stuff is blah, 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 blah. And he goes on and on and on. The science, which is what he's arguing that Dr. Avi Loeb isn't doing, is the science, he totally gets wrong. He does the same thing. He brushes it off, only addresses one of Avi Loeb's arguments that this thing is strange, instead of addressing all of the other issues. Because what's interesting is, regarding the outgassing is that Dr. Loeb makes a point, and if you think about this, outgassing, this rock is tumbling through the sky, and it's when it gets close to the sun, it's got a pocket of uh, liquid in it, probably water. As that heats up, it's going to turn to steam and eventually burst out. That's outgassing. And so that'll push it and it'll change its tumble and it'll move along. But what was interesting about this object is as it moved away, the tumble didn't change at all. If there was outgassing anywhere, that's going to make the tumble change. It's going to make it's going to change the way it moves. And that didn't happen. And I think that's probably the stronger argument that it wasn't outgassing. He also, when I brought this up, brought up the point that it moved away from the sun in its movement away from the sun was gradual, and it correlated with its distance from the sun, which indicates there was a relation with the sun and the change in the direction, the deviation that he calls it. So that's really interesting. So, and he even makes a point. I'm fine with people arguing with my theory, but give me a scientific argument. And the SCU does this. The SCU gets a lot of heat for this because they say, okay, we see, Mick West, that you have an argument against our paper. Write up a paper like we've done. Write up a paper where you can pinpoint where we've got things wrong. And that'll let us know, where we're wrong and how you're right. And even just the other day, they told somebody that, or in an email, someone saw the panel who was trying to argue that Mick West was right. We're like, write it up and let us know. Because these guys want the data. They all would love it. They don't mind being proven wrong, but you got to prove them wrong. And I know there's many times they take information, and I've been in these meetings where they're like, we got an argument from someone and they could be right. So they're going to write something up and give it to us. They kind of looked at it in a way we didn't. So it might be right. They look at it and they're like, well, it's not necessarily disputing what we're saying, but they're taking a genuine look. And, there's been, like I said, several times we're like, hey, these guys might have something. Maybe they figured out we are wrong about this or that. So, it's a process. You can't just do science by proclamation, as Stanton Friedman used to say.
Old Stan.
You have to actually give the data to prove your side.
And we should be seeing more of these things, whatever they are. Now that we have the capability. That was one of the first things I asked him when I was interviewing, although, I understood, but it's good for everyone who's listening, watching the show, is we now have the capability to see these things we didn't before. And then the James Webb is may help in certain ways. That's launching in October this year, supposedly.
Right.
That should open up a lot of doors. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, he was really cool. I think it's really neat. I think that, what did he say? That his goal is really, if he can turn on any other scientist or a person to get involved to look into this type of stuff and take it seriously, his goal will be met. And I think he's going to have a lot of people that he's influenced. And he's, like we talked about in our interview, he's a major part of this trend of scientists taking the extraterrestrial potential seriously. And we had talked about how even in Tabby Star, that object that, essentially Tabby Star, we'll put it like this for those of you who aren't aware of how this works. The Kepler looks for dimming. They looks at stars and it looks for patterns of dimming, and they're able to use those patterns of dimming to determine when, you've got a sun. I like having visuals. A sun and, a moon is going, or a planet's going in front of the star, it's going to make the star dim on a regular basis. And they measure it to determine how many planets may be around a sun. That's what they're looking for. With Tabby Star, they see irregular patterns of dimming, so they don't know what it might be. They said it could be this X, Y, or Z, but in the scientists who wrote up the paper originally writing about this discovery they made had speculated, theorized that one possibility is that it's extraterrestrial technology. And Shawnee just mentioned Dyson Sphere. Exactly. They mentioned that could be one of the technologies. I think the Dyson Sphere idea is kind of goofy. It's interesting, but I don't think it's anything. It's kind of a silly idea as far as, building this Dyson Sphere is essentially building this giant bubble around a sun of essentially solar panels, so that these solar panels can all gather the energy and then they beam that energy back. But of course, then you're blocking all of the light, you're absorbing a lot of the heat. It's probably going to destroy your planet if you completely encompass the sun. Or, Star Trek had an episode where they built one of these and they actually lived inside this Dyson Sphere. Maybe that would be a little more realistic. But just imagine building a sphere around a sun, how huge that's going to be.
Yeah, where would you get the materials?
Yeah, so I think that idea is kind of, I would think more of like an armada of ships or something in between our planet, but that's still an unsolved mystery. It probably is dusts and comets and stuff. Who knows? Or my cousin Jason of the Crypto Science Society is in the chat, and he says it could be other superstructures, which is a great point. So who knows? But it's really interesting. Oh, and that is a good point. OG Skywatch says about the Oumuamua, the object that Dr. Avi Loeb has been talking about, is that it's not cigar shaped. It's probably dish shaped, flat and round. All we know is that it's longer than it is wide, and a lot longer. So that's what we know. And by its size, it's got to be really thin. So the artist who NASA or whoever got, I think it was NASA originally, drew up, this using that. It must look like a cigar shaped asteroid, but we don't know. And like Dr. Avi Loeb says, the biggest thing we could have done is taken a picture, because then we would have been. And if we took a picture and it turned out to look like,
do you have a pancake
or something?
No.
Oh, I don't have a pancake, but look, I have my. I mean, he thinks it looked more like this.
Look at that.
Thinner.
Yeah.
This is the thing you put your phone on and it charges.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what Dr. Avi Loeb is thinking. Yeah,
there were.
So there we go.
6 really strange things. I can't remember exactly what they were, just some of them that it just had. There were 6. I mean, usually you would think maybe 1 or 2 odd things, but there were 6
Mary said
very strange things. Hey, Mary Grace.
Yeah, 6 things. So read the book. But the other thing with the book, and I didn't get into this, is the synchronicities. I mean, he got into such as he was in Hawaii.
Oh, yes. When they spotted
were
it.
Probably, spotted it. He didn't know at the time he was vacationing. He didn't find out about it till much later. But when they spotted it, he was in Hawaii at the time.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. He talked about synchronicities. Now, he did, go with the definition of it's a perceived, it's a coincidence that is perceived to have significance more than it actually does. He doesn't necessarily believe, it's God's hand or something like that involved with these synchronicities. But he did talk quite a bit about synchronicities in the book. I can't remember some of the others, but that was really interesting too.
Yeah.
Strange Recon Podcast asked a good question. Why haven't either of you guys interviewed actual astronomers instead of taking Avi words for it? Well, 2 things.
I actually had Mark D'Antonio on the interview with us.
Oh,
who's
you
an
did?
astronomer who's an astronomer. Yes.
Now, Mark is an astronomer, and he's extremely intelligent, but he doesn't work as an astronomer day to day.
Yeah.
Although he
I see
kind of
what you're
does. He's
saying.
got his podcast. But I have talked to astronomers. In fact, on this station, Open Minds, I've got a lecture from one of the. Well, I did this out in Phoenix. He spoke for Phoenix MUFON. He was one of the local. He runs the telescope uh, near where we lived in Mesa, Arizona, which is a huge area, but it's for Maricopa County. He runs the telescope there, and he came to do a talk at Phoenix MUFON, and we didn't know what he was going to say. Of course, I'm not a part of Phoenix MUFON, but my good friend Stacy runs it. We didn't know what he was going to say, but his lecture was fascinating. And this is not a UFO guy at all. But you can watch that lecture, Phoenix MUFON. Let me post it right here on the Open Minds YouTube. So go watch that. It's in the featured videos. But there you go. That's an interview with an actual astronomer. But I've also talked to others. But that's the first thing, is I have interviewed astronomers. The second thing is like what Jason just said, Crypto Science Society. Abby is an astronomer. Not only is he an astronomer, he's an astronomer at Harvard, an astrophysicist at Harvard, and he was in charge of the whole department. Yeah. Not only that, I mean, he's very celebrated. If you look at his background, he's got an incredible background. So, so we have talked to other astronomers. So there. Do either of us believe... Just kidding. Strange Recon's asking lots of great questions.
So we're doing a little bit of an AMA here, right?
Yeah, this is kind of an AMA, and I should have mentioned that from the beginning, that this would be kind of an AMA. So please, and I did say, and when I tweeted out to people, come with your questions. So let me know if your questions. These days, Jason's making the note that there's not a lot of difference between astrophysicists and astronomers these days. Let's see. Daryl is asking. First of all, thank you, Daryl. He threw me some cash there. Do either of you... So we'll definitely ask his question. Do either of you believe there is incontrovertible proof that we are or have been visited by off-world intelligent life? If so, what's an example? Great question, Daryl. What's your answer?
You go first.
Me go first. I think you would know my answer, though. I don't want to influence your answer. I'll go first if you really want me to,
though. Well, all I can say is I reluctantly say that we really don't. I can't think of any definite evidence. It's all anecdotal, unfortunately. I mean, there's so much that, we have, say, there's trace evidence, there's this, there's that, there's radar, but we just don't know where they're from. That's the thing. We can't say they're from another planet, or we can't say they're time travelers. We can't say they're interdimensional. We can't say any of it because we don't have real solid proof of any of it. That's what I think. And it's kind of unfortunate.
I agree with you 100%. That no, I don't believe that we have incontrovertible proof that we're being visited by off-world life. I personally don't think so at all. Of course, we're looking for that, and it would be really exciting if we found that, but I don't think we do. Someone asked a great follow-up question, though, Shawnee. Well, he made a comment, and he says, he said there's overwhelming evidence of non-human intelligence behind some UFOs, not necessarily alien, though. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Let me put it up so you could see it a little more clearly.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Not necessarily alien, but it seems like there is intelligence behind some of what people see, for sure. Obviously, you go back to David Fravor, there was some type of intelligence in that Tic Tac that was doing what it was doing. or was controlled by some type of intelligence.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I would not say there's overwhelming evidence of non-human intelligence, but I would say there's very compelling evidence or indicators. I wouldn't say it's overwhelming and for certain that it's intelligent, for certain. But I would say there seems to be, there's definitely a true mystery that we don't know, Yeah, and we don't know if it's non-human either. What if it's from the future? What if it's from another dimension and they're human? And what's interesting is that a lot of the credible scientists that are into this topic, especially along the lines of astrophysicists or people in physics, especially theoretical physics, that theoretical physics has really adopted this idea of multiple universe and the multiverse and all of this stuff. And so they feel that perhaps scientifically there's more grounds that it could be something interdimensional or So it's hard to say. On the other conversation with Avi Loeb, Strange Recon says he just doesn't agree with Dr. Avi Loeb, which is fine. But he says he's also wondering if I use hair product.
I saw that.
I'll address that question if some people want to.
I do.
Want me to?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
More people want me to address that question about hair products, I will. But sometimes people get mad because sometimes we've joked around about stuff like that, and they're like, "What's that gonna do with UFOs?" And I get your point, but it is a theory. What Dr. Avi Loeb is saying is a theory. It could be a meteorite. There could be outgassing of some sort. We don't know. What we have is just a set of data to go off of, but we don't know what we don't know. And at least people can argue that the set of data that we have does not prove one way or the other. And I think that's the argument that he's making. And I think that others would feel that it's fair in that we just don't have enough data.
One of the things that I liked about him, he said in a way he felt like he was kind of paving the road for people to come up behind him to have more of an open mind to look at these things in this way. Mm-hmm. So he made a lot about that he wants younger people to get involved in taking a good look at this. Wow, I see someone in the chat down there. Yeah.
Someone named Karen Brard. And look at the picture. Oh my God, this woman is gorgeous.
She's beautiful. Wow.
She is so hot.
And would you believe her? Yeah, that's the question.
If your girlfriend said she was abducted, would you believe her? You know what's really funny about that question? It's a loaded question because she knows the answer. Yeah. Not that she's claimed she's been abducted. She doesn't. But I think she knows that if she came to me and said, "I think I was abducted," I'd be like, are you sure? Give me the circumstance. Are you sure it wasn't this? Are you sure it wasn't that? So that's pretty funny.
Sleep paralysis. Yeah.
So Slider is asking, so why did it change speed? We don't know. I mean, outgassing would cause it to change speed and direction. But it would also mean that the tumble would change. And most likely, because they did have a camera on it, they would have been able to see the gases coming out of the object, and they never did. So outgassing is a possibility. And I'm not saying that, outgassing is completely ruled out, but the evidence doesn't support outgassing to this point. There could have been some sort of anomalistic outgassing that is abnormal that could have happened. We don't know. So we don't know. The other thing is to think about here is that, he's talking about it possibly being a solar panel and space junk. So if it was a device that was made to be activated and to go away, to be pushed by photons, essentially, which is what a solar sail is. You push photons, push it along. Photons
like the star shot,
light.
The star shot that he was involved in.
Yeah, and we can
overseeing.
explain that.
Yeah.
So that's what he's saying. If it was like space junk and this thing was out there, that would make sense for it being pushed along. But yeah, Starshot, and that's what's really cool too. And people do say, "What? This seems to be a coincidence that that Avi Loeb was working with Yuri Milner," and I had talked about this in previous shows because this was exciting to me. In fact, we covered it quite a bit. Not doctor, he's not a doctor, he's a billionaire. Billionaire Yuri Milner, this Russian, wants to find aliens. And so he hired scientists to look for it.
In his
and
lifetime.
He hired Dr. Loeb.
Yeah.
And this is in the book. Great thing to read in the book. And so he said, I want, in my lifetime, like you just said, I want to send some kind of craft to Alpha Centauri to look for aliens. And so what he came up with was these solar sails. Of course, solar sails isn't a new idea. It's even in Star Trek, just like the Dyson spheres. But he did the math and figured out we could actually really create these solar sails, push them with a laser to float out, and they can get to Alpha Centauri within 20 years and send information back about the area. And so we would know more about, our closest solar system. So, that's a project he's working on, and who knows, maybe it will get some money and that'll happen, but who knows? So,
yeah, I couldn't figure out how those things worked, but he explained it very well. They basically, the most expensive part of it is a very high-powered laser, and it only is directed on the sail for a short amount of time until it gets it up to a certain amount of light speed.
Right.
And then it just kind of sails the rest of the way. And each of those sail units cost about as much as a cell phone does. So it's not that part's not very expensive. The laser part is. But again, it's going to take, so many years to get a signal back or whatever once it gets into the vicinity out there.
So just to follow up here, oops.
What was that?
Daryl,
a chicken?
No, this is Renee, who I think is a guy, but he likes this girl in a bikini. He sent a duck for something like that for some reason. So Daryl says, thanks, guys. He believes that there is a bunch of evidence out there that alien life is out there and has been here. So he believes there is enough evidence, which is great. Let's see. Otherwise, Strange Recon is saying that
there's a duck behind me. They see the duck behind me. That's a Canada goose decoy.
Oh, there's a duck behind you?
Canada
Look at how
goose.
Funny. Is that a bowler hat there?
No, that's a World War I helmet.
Oh,
and below
okay.
there's two World War II helmets behind it. The family was in both World War I and World War II.
Is that a duck or a goose?
That is a Canada goose.
Aha! I was right. That's hilarious.
Pretty funny.
So
we need some more questions from you. We need some questions.
Well, did we answer? So we answered the Avi Loeb question. I think we did answer all of the questions, except for about my hair. Do I use product? Not much. Look, he's saying there's no way your hair is like that. My hair is like this. Yeah. And in California, but you know what? There's a little product in here, because if I didn't have a very tiny bit, oh my gosh, now I can't tell what I did. Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to put on a hat. Or I could do my own kind of Giorgio Tsoukalos crazy hair thing.
Yeah, you should do that next time.
Look.
Yeah.
Then everybody will think I'm copying him. Put on my NASA hat. But I do use a little bit of a tiny bit there. Otherwise, my hair frizzes. So there you go.
Yeah.
But hey, people, don't get on Strange Recon too bad. We like to be challenged on this show. I don't use product. I'm in California. Most people in California use product. But my point being that what I meant about California is I was living in Arizona for a long time. It's super dry, and it would dry out my hair. I don't have to really use a moisturizer. Just so
come on,
you
this
know,
is a show about
there,
UFOs.
But,
come on.
Okay.
Karen says
so there
you
you
look fine
go.
Anyway. Yeah.
There's the big mystery about. Oh, my honey says I look fine. Thank you, honey bunny. All right. So I think that we have what my Karen's asking goofy questions. Never go full Giorgio. That's hilarious. Yeah, I can't go full Giorgio. He's got it. I can't just copy Giorgio.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of copying Giorgio, is the Ancient Aliens production crew love me. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of the show, I do like Giorgio. He's a funny guy, but the Ancient Alien guys really love me, and I speak at the Alien Cons. They've been doing these virtual Alien Con events that they've had me joining, and I'm going to be doing a couple more. So we're working it out, but they want me to write an op-ed for their Alien Con website, so I'll do that. Probably, I think probably what I'll argue, what I think the big news is just how incredible the disclosure has been. We really have gotten pretty much disclosure by Lou Elizondo coming out and all of what's been created. So I'll probably write something along those lines to just be like, do you guys realize where we are at this point? I mean, that this topic is being taken seriously now, that scientists are considering it, that we've got these people like Dr. Kevin Knuth or Dr. Avi Loeb out here advocating for these sort of things. It's amazing. So I'll probably write an op-ed about that, and then I'll be hosting a disclosure panel, very kind of similar to the one that I was involved with just a few weeks ago, where Nick Pope moderated it. But I'll be moderating one, and I can't remember who's all. I think Nick will be on it. I think they're gonna have. This one will be interesting because we'll have, and I can't remember who else. So, of course, Richard has different ideas, but Richard Dolan is very intelligent, very articulate, always fun to talk with. So we'll be talking to him about that. And of course, he has some beliefs that are just much different than my own, but it's always fun to debate and talk to him about that kind of thing. So that'll be fun. So we've got that coming up. Any thought on APL's theory on hyperdrive tech? I'm not sure what you mean by that one. Anonymous Rex, sorry.
Yeah, that's
Oh, and I haven't watched this yet. And then Mary Grace is saying that Giorgio was on the TV show Resident Alien on Sci-Fi. I actually got to do a trivia. I got to join a Zoom and do some alien trivia with the cast of Resident Alien. And on Instagram, I did a little video where I recorded a little bit of it. So you can go see some of that on Instagram, but they didn't record it or share it. So unfortunately, you guys can't watch it. It was a lot of fun. So let's see. Thank you, Rodrigo, saying I would add some value to Ancient Aliens. I've only been on, most of the time I'm debunking stuff. I feel like I'm Mick West on that show. And when they call me up and ask me to talk on a certain topic, I tell them straight off, well, I can speak on that topic, but I'm going to say something I think very different than what you're going to present. Here's what I would say. And usually they're like, yeah, that doesn't fit. But they do have me in to interview me a couple times. I think the first time they didn't even air it because I was not talking about what they wanted.
The cutting room floor. Yeah.
But what's fun is I feel it's almost like the producers are picking my brain. They're like, okay, what's really going on with this stuff? The second time they did that, it was a long interview and they only used a short part. And it was on Chile, an episode on Chile. And I think that they used the part where I was explaining what I was explaining earlier, how the Chilean government had all met and determined that these things were benevolent, that there's nothing to fear from the aliens. But lots of people saying Resident Alien is awesome. It looks like it's really funny. There's also a new show called Debris coming out. Yeah, where some kind of space debris lands and it's magic or something and causes weird stuff to happen. But now that we're talking about TV and entertainment, there's also a show out there called Truth Seekers that is friggin' hilarious. It's really good. It's this guy who is let me show you because it's if you don't know his name, it was created by Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and Simon Pegg has not been in it so far that I've seen, but Nick Frost is the main character, and I'll show you a picture here so you can see who I'm talking about. But it's a hilarious show. So essentially, he's the guy who his character. Oh, dang it. You have to log into this stupid one. Sorry, let me change it over. Because the show's on Prime. Wouldn't it be funny? Let me try this.
Oh, I saw it on there, but I didn't know what it was.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen here, peeps. Patience, my young friends. Okay, here we go. Truth Seekers. Oh, it's even showing it. There you go. There he is. So you guys probably recognize him now. But anyways, the show's hilarious. So essentially, him and his buddy behind him are like cable guys. And but the guy, the big dude, main character, also has a YouTube. He's like us. He's got a YouTube, a paranormal YouTube, where he goes and does ghost hunting and stuff. And so on that level, it's hilarious too, because he's trying to get published in the big paranormal magazine and stuff like that. But what's really funny too is they have it completely wrong. So in other words, they'll go like somewhere and he'll look in the magazine. Oh, there's nothing going on. That this paranormal group researched this area and it's not paranormal at all. And so they go, and of course it's super paranormal. And this girl that is back here has all kinds of paranormal stuff happening to her, and they're trying to help her out or something too. So, but the show is friggin' hilarious. And if you're into all of us, anybody listening to this podcast will definitely appreciate it. In fact, my girlfriend, my precious girlfriend, who I just said was so beautiful, says that the main character reminds her of me, which is not necessarily a compliment. It's a compliment in a way. He's a smart guy, but
he probably uses stuff in his
silly
hair too. Yeah.
Wow. So everybody is really liking that Resident Alien, so we'll have to check it out.
I have to
but anyways,
get the helmet. There it is.
Ghost hunters started out as Roto-Rooter plumbers. It's true. But please do, go check out Truth Seekers. It's hilarious. It's really, really funny. All right. Beard Rojas has to make an appearance. Actually, what's funny is Zoom. I've been doing a lot of training and stuff for my new job, and Zoom allows you to add a beard, and I've been doing that sometimes. And so far, I haven't gotten in trouble, but I better not push it. Phoenix Abby Lynn says, I was thinking about Shaun of the Dead today. That's so strange. I think that was the name in the movie again. I'll watch. But no, I think those guys were in Shaun of the Dead. Those guys that do Truth Seekers were part of it. So really funny. But anyway, I guess that is all. Unless you all have any more questions, I think we'll start to wrap it up here. I do want to plug again Jason from the Crypto Science Society. He has started this while he was in college. And actually, I ended up going to Metro State College. That's what it was at that time. I think they've changed their name to Denver Metropolitan University or something. But when we were there, he started up this group in the college, and he still helps out and does that. So check out his website. Check out Crypto Science Society. Cool stuff. Daryl, again, with another tip. And you're going to have to answer this question because he gave a tip. He wants to know about your hair products.
Yeah, it's called a razor. That's about all I use.
Hair product.
Yeah, that's it.
That's funny. Whatever happened to Blossom Goodchild? I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah.
But there's your answer, Daryl. The razor is his. But yeah, thank you. Please do check out Podcast UFO. Of course, that's Martin's show every Tuesday. And you can also follow him and get previews and other stuff at his Patreon. Metropolitan State University of Denver, it's called that. It used to be called Metro State College. But and for me, let me give you updates on what's going on with Open Minds in my show. So I'm training, I'm still doing mortgage loans. In fact, if you need a mortgage, get a hold of me. I can help you out. Refi, I might not be able to help you. I'm not doing refis, just purchases, but our company does refis and we've got some great deals. And I may be able to personally help you with your refi, but I can definitely help you with purchases. Get a hold of me if you need something like that. Also, if you're looking for a job and you want to do mortgages, I can help you out with that too. It's something that I've started to do because of the pandemic, screwed up my whole life, like many of us. And this is something that's kind of been pandemic proof. In fact, it's been doing really well because rates being so low. But it's also something you can do remotely and you don't necessarily have to interact with people face to face. Although everything, thank goodness, is finally starting to clear up. Even in San Diego here, where it was really bad, they're talking about in another week opening up. I'll be able to get my hair cut. People seem to be fairly fascinated with my hair. And I like that because I'm always self-conscious about it. And it is weird. This is what really makes me see how this part's all silvery and then it's dark right here. Looks weird. I wish it was more consistent, but what can you do? My honey likes it. That's good enough. But they're gonna gyms and everything. I haven't been to the gym since the pandemic's like a year. So I can't wait to get to the gym, get my hair cut, and get into restaurants. Even though Arizona has been terrible and has not been good about being disciplined about things, in my humble opinion. I haven't really been going out so much there, but everything's opening up. It's getting better. The sun's coming out. Things are getting better, people. It's going to get better. So, but
we will get through
the other
it.
thing is, since I'm too busy, one of the things I tried to do was I was like, maybe I'll try these new systems and everything to try to make Open Minds a full-time thing like it used to be when we had this sponsor who paid for stuff. That didn't really work. And I don't mind. It's no big deal. I think it's always just like, you're checking out the market and seeing how, what the demands are out there. And I'll be honest, I definitely don't have the times or the means to spend all I could on marketing perhaps. But I think that what we do is also very niche. That first of all, people being interested enough in the UAP phenomenon to actually seek out information is a niche. And then an even smaller, very much smaller niche are those people looking for credible information. I think a lot of people love to use this for escapism, like being interested in sci-fi or something, and they like the mythology and they like the speculation. And that's all well and fine. There's plenty of that you can find out there. But of course, what you and I are more to, and me even more specifically, into really kind of this government stuff and the science and some of this burgeoning mainstream stuff that is starting to come out, journalism and stuff like that. And that's what's really exciting to me and what I follow. And it's just, there's just a narrow field of people that are interested in that. But what am I getting at? What I'm getting at is now that I'm working full time and I don't really have time and I can't guarantee, that we'll have a show every week or I can do every interview every week. So I'm not putting anything behind a paywall right now anymore. So even all of my Rojas reports that were behind a paywall are no longer behind a paywall. So you'll see a Rojas reports playlist below, and maybe you clicked on a couple of those and it said, hey, give me a couple bucks. And, you were too cheap to pay the couple of bucks to watch and you got mad. Well, that's okay, because now you can go watch it and you don't have to pay the couple of bucks. Or maybe you just didn't have the couple bucks because, the pandemic was rough on you too. And I get that. No doubt about it. I'm just kidding around. But two, go see my interview. I've got an interview with Chris Mellon. I've got an interview with Luis Elizondo on there. I've got my interview with John Greenwald, our first interview together after a couple years of battling. We were really, and John, he's just too ornery. He's still getting in fights. Now he's like getting in fights with Tim McMillan, his buddy. I don't know what this is all about. So,
Wow.
but anyway, me and John are good. And of course, he does do some good work. And I'm good with Tim McMillan and all these guys. It's rare that I'm in some kind of argument with anybody. It's really rare. David Marler, question mark. Yes. Somebody asked me, David Marler, question mark.
Yeah.
My answer would be yes.
Yes, whatever it is, yes, as long as it's good. Yeah,
David Marler is friggin' awesome. So
yes.
So anyway, that's the deal. So of course, I've still got my Patreon. I still have the membership thing here on YouTube. You can definitely join here on YouTube or on Patreon, but I can't guarantee I'll be able to give you any exclusive information. So if you're joining on either of those things, it's just to support me and what I do. Thank you very much. However, if you don't want to pay because you don't want to pay if you're not getting anything special, that's cool too. So there you go. And you know, someone, Rodrigo, brought up another great question. He said, Alejandro, how about the conference presentations? I did Captain Laurie's Recreation and haven't watched it yet. I'm not sure what you mean.
I definitely don't know.
Give me a little more info, Rodrigo. He'll let me know. Rodrigo's awesome. Oh, David Marler's like me is what Shawnee was saying, I think. Yes, I think David Marler and I agree. David Marler is extraordinary. I just friggin' love that guy. So yeah, he's great. His research is incredible. He's also a great person. And, you know, I went to his wedding in New Mexico about a year or so ago, just before the pandemic. Karen and I went, and John Alexander was there with his wife. So we spent the time with them, and that was a lot of fun. But so that's what's going on. Oh, conference-wise, though, that's what you reminded me, Rodrigo. The International UFO Congress. It's going. This is news to you, Martin. This was news to me as of like yesterday. So that hotel in downtown Phoenix, where it was held a couple years ago, will be opening up in May. Plenty of time before September, which is when the conference will be, like it was last time. The website's already getting updated. If you go to ufocongress.com, do keep updated there. The dates are up there, the 8th through the 12th of September. A lot of the speakers that were joined us for the virtual conference that Martin helped us run, and Jason helped us run also, my cousin. A lot of them are going to be back. And so come check it out. It's UFO Congress. So you can go to ufocongress.com, or Renee says UFOCon. Actually, I own that domain. If you go to ufocon.com, it'll actually just go to the UFO Congress. So
a redirect.
A redirect right back to the UFO Congress. So a lot of, I don't know if you've noticed this, a lot of conferences have been trying to use that term, UFOCon. And we had batted around too. But the owner at the time definitely didn't want to do that. And Karen didn't want to do it. I
don't know if I like con in a title.
I know, because people always laugh. Like alien con.
So the alien is a con man.
Exactly. They always laugh. Oh, it's appropriate. It's a big con. So I think that's what happens with people.
Charging too much.
But anyway, yeah. So the UFO Congress is going to be happening. So I'll be talking more about that. We've got a lot of great speakers that are lined up. In fact, one of my favorite interviews from the virtual was with Brian Bender. Supposedly he should be able to come back. I can't remember any of the people that she's confirmed right now. I don't know if she's confirmed anybody except for verbal kind of talking. Ben Hansen, we talked. He's a really good buddy of ours. We were hanging out with him the other day, and he says he'll do it. So he's always there doing the night vision. So he'll be doing night vision, but
always
also other stuff. So
he's got a big new bouncing baby too.
Oh yeah, Rodrigo also. Oh, that's what Rodrigo's talking about. Sorry, Rodrigo. We had Lori Rayfeld, one of the Rendlesham witnesses. She actually had
Oh yeah.
witnessed something prior to the Rendlesham Forest incident in 1980. We had her present last year, and Rodrigo did this excellent video recreating her sighting, and it is so good. Rodrigo,
Wow.
could you share the link to that uh, below? And I'll definitely include the link to that video in the show notes because it is a really, really cool video. So I'll include that. Thank you. Kevin Stills noting that Comic Con's already been canceled. Ever since I moved to the San Diego area, Comic Con's been canceled. So now that I live close and I don't have to like actually, because I was going with, I was joining Den of Geek, who I write for, and helping them cover some Comic Con stuff. And it's a lot of fun, but we
Isn't it
get
like
a
June or
really,
something usually?
it's usually July, I think, June or
July.
July.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, usually we get this really nice Airbnb downtown San Diego but we all have to share it. So we're all kind of stuffed in this place. So they're nice and we're always busy and it's fun. It's no big deal. It's kind of funny. But now that I have a place where I don't even have to, shack up with these guys in this room. Now we haven't had Comic-Con, so hopefully it won't be too long. Mystery at Eastgate is what Rodrigo says it's called. Rodrigo,
No link? No.
no link, dude. Come on, give me a link. I'm going to look for it. But anyways, that is pretty much everything. Unless there are any other questions around any of that. A funny scene in Paul was filmed at Comic-Con. Oh, Paul. Nick Frost and Simon Pegg did the movie Paul, too. And the people who did Truth Seekers. So if you liked Paul, Truth Seekers is friggin' hilarious. Mystery at Eastgate. I'm going to see if this video comes up. If it does, oh, here it is. This is it. I wonder if you could see it if I bring it up. I don't even have to ask Rodrigo's permission because it's on YouTube and I'm going to do it anyway.
Watch him do it.
He can't stop me.
He's gonna do a copyright strike against you.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but there's a little. I'm going to fast forward. But it's a great video. He essentially uses her witness testimony. There you go. But just so you can see, this is a really, really well done video. So I'll put the link down there. And it's great because, it's just done. She is telling you what happened as Rodrigo is showing you what happened. So really cool. Here's a link to it. And I'll also put it in the show notes. Interestingly, someone brought up Larry Warren, who I think was a dishonest witness when it came to all of that, but she's friends with. Show the whole thing, Alejandro? No, I'll let people go watch it because I want you to get the hits, Rodrigo. One. Also, we should probably wrap this up. So thank you, Rodrigo, for giving me permission. He said, go ahead, make my day. But I want you to get the hit. So everybody go watch that. I've got the link that I shared just there, and I'll share it in the show notes as well. All right, let's wrap this up. So thank you so much, Martin, for joining.
Hey, very welcome. A lot of fun as always.
Thank you all for joining, all of you listeners and viewers. Thank you all who were able to join live and ask questions. Thank you to all of my listeners out there. And even though I'm kind of slowing down stuff, I appreciate you all so much. And that's why I want to keep doing the show, to come and share with you and talk with you, because it's always a lot of fun. And you guys are just, as far as my listeners, awesome. So, Strange Recon always telling people to go watch his stuff. So yeah, he's got information in the chat. Thank you all so very much. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Caleb Hanks, for the opening and close music of the podcast. Thank you to, I guess I've thanked everybody already, huh?
Think so.
Yeah. So thank you all for listening. Until next time, adios, muchachos.
I got to get that accent better.